We get one of the most ridiculous moments, I think, in all of zombie history in Romero's Dawn of the Living Unalive, when things are going south in the mall and the biker gang has to flee. And this guy decides it's time to go get his blood pressure taken, as he knows he's about to be consumed by zombies. So the best thing about this is we have to take it absolutely seriously. This is the most philosophically important part of this film. It is a clear depiction of who we are. Hi, I'm Nicholas Crawford. I treat zombies and horror as philosophy, and Where We've Made It Dark is out next month. It's a literary apocalypse with zombies in it, and it seizes the zombie genre too tight in order to arrive at its traumatic, undoing core. So here in Dawn of the Living Unalive, we have a huge excess and enjoyment on display, to the point where it's overwhelming. It's actually a little hard to watch in parts. These characters all enjoy in this ridiculous, over-the-top manner that leads to a displeasure on our own part. It's just too much. We don't have the buffer we need in order to enjoy it ourselves as well. So we see in the zombie apocalypse, now here's our first true zombie apocalypse after Night of the Living Unalive, where we are getting to the end of the world. We see the way in which we need to fall into enjoyment when the cover of the world falls away. So, the way things are supposed to be, the way we function in society, our identity and place in life, when that's all fully gone, the main thrust of Dawn of the Living Unalive is how it shows we fill it in with enjoyment. And it's extreme enjoyment. So we get, from the beginning, a really interesting clash of state police and the resistance of gangs, basically. And we get this application of force and violence into a tenement. So we're not zooming out to see all of the world falling apart. We're focusing in on a tenement of multiracial, poor, lower class people. So first off, we have to address the cop who goes in guns blazing. So he knocks down doors, blows people away for the fun of it, and he's just going wild. He's shouting racist obscenities, etc. And unbeknownst to ourselves, it's our protagonist who's masked who actually puts him down. So there's go to my video about the slasher, where if you want to talk about horror and masks and the huge philosophical weight and import of that. But we have to first answer, what is this cop doing? How are we this cop? Because this enjoyment carries through the film. We fall into the exact same enjoyment when the two SWAT officers go outside of the mall in the middle of the film to shore up their entrance with semi-trailers, and one of them goes wild and guns blazing with the zombies, just like the original one did in the tenement. And it leads to his downfall. The excessive point of, oh, I left my bag, I got to go get it, and he gets bit, and that's his demise. So why are these illogical moves happening in the film? Why are we doing this excessive thing? So the huge point is that this excess is ourselves. It's not a part of society. It's not a flaw. It's something that we create, and we do it within society, and we do it without society. It's just going to come from ourselves. So we have to cling through excess, and that's why when the SWAT members go crazy, they're leaning into their excess. We get the exact same excess with Flyboy when he decides to not hide when the biker gang invades the mall towards the end of the film, but to stand his ground and defend it because it's theirs. So that's what causes chaos to happen, and he's unalive because he didn't hide. So why couldn't he just hide, right? It's so the way we cling to what's ours is another point of excess. And again, the SWAT member guy goes back for his bag, the thing he is clinging to, the thing he can't let go of, right? Even though, what's a bag? They don't need this stuff, right? Now, interestingly, we also have the formation of a couple. We have the radio reporter and the helicopter pilot who are romantically intertwined, and she's pregnant with his child. And we get the impossibility of the romantic relationship in the apocalypse, even though we could see, even though there's no direct impediment, the impediment is his inability to fill the form of being the romantic partner and the full phallic presence. So and basically it means he's unlovable, and he knows it. So he isn't as capable of a fighter as the other two. He makes a few mistakes, even though he's not the type of character that's causing huge problems all over the place. But he's not able to fill his role in this partnership. And in lieu of his filling this role properly, the spouse partner, the would be spouse partner, she refuses a gesture of being married because it wouldn't be real. It's not real without society there to guarantee it. She breaks out of this relationship. She first is left alone while they raid the mall, and she's attacked and defenseless, and she refuses to be left in a defenseless spot after that. So she, gets to keep a gun too. And she also stands her ground and says, "You need to teach me to fly in case something happens to you," which of course it will. And, that's the reason she and the lone survivor SWAT member guy are able to flee at the very end of the film. So she changes. She becomes a new subject, a new person when the world falls apart, and he is unable to have a real role. So his masculine position and the frailty of it here is really interesting, because he's clinging to the mall when it's clearly meaningless. They don't need the stuff that's being taken at all. It's just going to be ransacked. And he's not doing this for his would-be wife or his unborn child. He's doing it just to hold on to the mall. So he's a pure capitalist subject in this act. He needs the stuff of capitalism, the meaningless stuff of the mall. And there's so much focused in terms of these objects, not about their use value, but their useless value. When the mall's being ransacked, one of the bikers grabs a TV, and then someone says, "What are you going to watch on that?" And he's like, "Oh, I guess not." And then he starts smashing the TV, right? So you get the clinging to the TV here, and then the only way to break out of that is to smash the TV. You destroy your point of enjoyment to move on. So we see how he doesn't move on. He becomes a zombie. Okay, so clearly we see how we fall into excess in lieu of society, how excess comes from ourselves, and it's not an outside problem, and it's not a flaw. It's not a matter of not taking the zombie threat seriously enough. It's how we fall into the zombie threat and, us without world. So why does the biker get his blood pressure taken when he knows he's about to be eaten? So in the chaos of the mall, he wants to get his blood pressure taken. It's something he just wants to do. He's told not to, go grab supplies instead. And when things are turning south, he goes back to it, gets his blood pressure taken with the zombies surrounding him. He gets eaten, and his arm gets ripped off, and it's left in the machine with the squeezing going on. So here we get a depiction of a partial object at its finest. So think of Twin Peaks and I Am the Arm. So limbs and organs, they can function as partial objects. This thing that we're separated from in order to be the beings who are divided by sexuality that we are. So he's literally going in for a little squeeze. This is sexual without being sexual. So it's in the territory of the sexual, but it's asexual. It's not, that. So it's the thing that's on the outside of us in order to be sexual. So, the partial objects are floating things around us. We get energy from them when we engage them, but when we fall into them fully, we lose our sense of self. So this is also not just about sexuality, but about language, how we're divided by language. We don't fit within the words that we're saying. There's always an alienation inherent to language that we engage here. With the world falling apart around him, the best thing he can possibly do is engage the partial object of his arm and go in for that last little squeeze. So it's not simply a transcendence, it's an engagement with fantasy. It's not the territory of us at our absolute best, or the best we can do at the end of life. It's the fantasy that sustains us in normal life. So different modes of fantasy, the different modes of falling into excess are in proximity to the partial object. And when we get to the partial object, we fall apart. Our sense of consistency and sense of world falls apart. So thus the arm is severed. He turns into a zombie. He's consumed, etc.